One of the things that we're trying to do is, we've been hearing about all the different problems with gangs all over the nation. Sacramento is not an isolated problem. Like you heard about the situation in the barbershop a couple of months ago. Then you had the killings Sunday with the 15-year-olds on somebody's lawn. And one of the things that we recognize is that all the city officials that met in Oak Park the other night with the chief of police and the sheriff and all the district attorneys and the federal district attorney, all these people are not going to solve the problem. Matter of fact, the only people who are going to solve the problem are the people who are involved. And the only way you're going to stop gang violence is you're going to have to get the ear of people who are gang leaders all over this nation, and they are going to have to come together, and they're going to have to come with solutions to this problem. Okay. Do you agree with me?
Sure, I agree with you.
Okay.
Is that a question?
No, I was just asking.
Yeah, sure, I agree.
So you're the founder, one of the founders of the Crips, is that correct? And
yeah, well, that's kind of a true rumor. I guess they qualified me to investigate and see whether or not some of the people out there who are posing as people who are helping young people are authenticated. But, I basically grew up in America in a certain period of time and was affected by certain social forces and responded in a particular way, which they define as gangster or whatever. So that's why we're here in Oakland, to see what the people need.
Sacramento.
Yeah, Sacramento. All of it's up north to me. See what the people need, see what the people's complaints are, and see if we can come up with some solution that's more effective than the solutions that they've been coming up with so far. In LA, ceasefire committee demonstrated pretty good the last 5 to 7 years, but I think we need to focus a little more on the historical context and redefine things in relationship to looking at our children and the condition they're in and the effects that the schools and the different institutions have on them, because right now it doesn't look like the problem is being solved, it's actually spreading. And so I'm just here as a concerned person with a little experience. That's all.
Well, just for our audience, can you just tell us a little bit of background about yourself? How did you become involved with the gang? What's a little history behind that?
Well, back in 1969 in Los Angeles, California, conditions came about where we had to protect ourselves as young people when we were going to the movies or walking home from school. And there was a vacuum in the 60s movement at that time due to COINTELPRO chasing a lot of the prominent militant leaders off the streets and out of the country and jailing them. So there's kind of a vacuum of leadership in the community that had political maturity. And so a lot of the black and proud concepts were kind of fading or being removed, and so the community was moving in a very violent direction at that time. And so the conditions, I would say, were the conditions that brought about this phenomenon called gangbanging as they define it now, or Crips and Bloods. It's the conditions were militant, and so the environment was violent. That would be the main cause.
What area did you live in?
I grew up in South Central, close to the high school called Fremont. So the neighborhood I lived in eventually became known as Crips. And out of that environment came a lot of different gang alliances or alliances of young people who eventually became known as the Crips, based on the media redefining or renaming a group called Baby Crips, who were a group of avenues, which was a subsect of the Slauson gang or neighborhood. And so that's how I got involved, just by living in the neighborhood and being a reaction to the conditions of black people preying on other black people.
Now, what led you out of the gang lifestyle?
Well, first off, when you check out my particular experience, it's more like just a child growing up in the city. And as you grow up in the city, in a city type environment, you have to learn to be tough, and you have to learn how to defend yourself, and you have to learn the terrain in order to survive. So I look at it more as I just evolved due to age, growing up and maturing, realizing that certain behaviors were not conducive to my survival or the survival of my neighborhood or people. Just maturing, reason. I hit the age of reason, maybe 18, 19. It just wasn't mature to run around and act like I'm in junior high school. At the time, my particular generation didn't have the Crip or die or gangster for life type of philosophy. So that contributed. And plus we had the influences of the Black Panther Party. And so we were trying to seek a true education of our environment and the decadent nature of American society before this particular phenomenon went out of hand as we grew and developed. So we always knew that it was life beyond the gang, but there are advantages in gangs, especially on the level of security and on the level of acceptance. And coming up in America, you're being rejected. Now you have a particular group or culture or subculture that you accepted by. So it's just natural responses that independent groups take on to make up for the overall group, which would be America, that rejects black children. And so we create our own society and our own social network and our own security and our own language. And that's just a natural response in my opinion.
Now, how do the gang members respond when you come out to them? I take it you're kind of like a mentor out in that area, or a role model out in that area. How would a Crip member or Blood member respond to you?
Well, it depends on the type of individual that we confronted with. You have various types of responses. A lot of times, we don't come where we're not wanted in the first place. First off, if they're not listening, we're not wasting any time on that particular person or population. But if they invite us in to their meetings or whatever, or gatherings, then we try to lay out something to contribute to the development of that particular group or that particular tribe or that particular set. Because the gangs today are not exactly the way the gangs were when I grew up in the first place. They have evolved, of course. And so they're more like corporations now. If they invite you in, they invite you in to see what you can contribute to the further development of their little cartel or a big cartel. There's a whole different ball of wax here. And so there's unlimited responses that you could get.
Now, how did Prentice Bunchy Carter, how did Bunchy Carter influence you?
Well, Bunchy Carter influenced me by being the leader of the Black Panther Party chapter on Broadway in Florence, and by being a leader or the leader, by acting in a revolutionary manner every time we saw him. That's how he influenced me. We really didn't focus too much on newspaper articles and this and that when it came to Bunchy. It was just more of when you were there in the study group and he came in, you realized that this was the person that was regulating and managing the revolution. And so he impressed us as being what you would want to be if you were a young man growing up in America. A leader, fearless, intelligent, diligent. This guy was a revolutionary, and so that was a definition for us, 14, 15, as what a young, gifted and black man of that age would be, right? So that's how he influenced us. He gave us an idea of what manhood was.
You know, what are your thoughts of a person like Tookie Williams? I know you get asked that probably a lot, you know.
Right, well, I'll give you a little, then I'll let you read his book. He had various publications. But seemed like he's pretty much like the rest of us, except he was more into bodybuilding and aspiring SmackDown artist or whatever. He was more physical, but most of his experiences were almost identical as all the rest of us. He grew up pretty much the same way we did in South Central, experiencing violence, self-hatred, brutality, and he was able to survive, you know, and mold himself into some military machine that was able to adapt, balance, and master the environment that he was in. However, he went to jail a little earlier than a lot of the rest of us, so he was more adapt to jailhouse and military or gladiator style of living, where a lot of us were still in high school. And but then he found a goal to become a bodybuilder, and he molded and developed himself along those lines with that type of mentality to become the best of what he was trying to develop, which in most cases was a super soldier. And I would say he did pretty good on that level of development for a child to develop himself to that level and degree in America. Of course, would be illegal. So that's how I look at the brother for the most part.
When you look at his legacy, how would you describe his legacy?
I would describe his legacy as a contribution of a collective body of people from the neighborhood in which he came from, funneling their ideas and concerns into his experience, which is just a reflection of the neighborhood that he came from. Tookie belonged to all of us. Tookie was not some individual person disconnected from the environment. He took pieces from everything and everybody in the environment that he existed in. So that's how I look at the brother. He was a good example for someone who wants to get into self-development physically or mentally, right? However, he's a good example too for you to check out if you might not want to make some of the mistakes that he made as he was growing and developing.
And last question, what is your core message to the youth of today, to the gang members out there on the block? What is your core message that you really want to drive in?
Well, the core message would be primarily to the youngest ones, like in junior high school, who need to seek some knowledge of self, get a knowledge of self in their history before they go out there and try to become a G. Get them some knowledge, learn how to read and write, learn how to count their money, right? And get a skill. And don't give up on their dreams and their goals of being a professional football player, basketball. Have a dream and pursue it. And ask somebody if you need somebody to help you walk through that, right? And then we should have other people, older people, willing to help mentor those people in their goals. But if they don't have nobody, then Lil G got to learn how to read and write and count that money. Lil G got to know his history. You understand? Lil G got to love his people, and he'll know what to do with the rest of it.
And also get organized. I think they should all get organized.
They are organized. That's what everybody overlooks, but we just throwing that in. They are organized. I just think that they need more information on themselves and their people so they can navigate their organization in a way that's beneficial to the community as a whole.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot. And can we use this for ThugExposed.Org for us?
Yeah, if we look at it.
Are we ready?
Welcome. Before we get into the panel, because it is a panel discussion and it's an opportunity for your questions to be answered. It's an opportunity for the panelists to say what they feel is important. And just to kind of put some framework around the way we'll go about doing it. I have some questions that I want to ask, and I want David Williams, because he's going to need to leave, and so make sure that he speaks, because that's really the reason that we're all here. And then open it up for further discussion after that. And so I know that this is being documented, so you won't miss anything, Mr. Williams. You'll be able to review all of this. So the Sacramento African American Community and Family Task Force, that is in its formation, still being designed and very carefully designed, because we all agree that it's such a serious problem. In November of last year, there were a group of men having a social conversation around the subject of what is happening in the community to our young people. Professor Cambone, who was on the panel and is from Sacramento, was speaking to these other men and said, okay, something has to be done. So as I introduce myself and the others, it all kind of makes sense of how it all came about. But first I want to give Mr. Williams an opportunity to speak and say his feeling about how this has come about today.
First, I'd like to welcome the panel. Ms. Cambone, thank you very much for moderating for us today. Akinsanya, thank you for being here. Mr. King, thank you very much. Musa, thank you, sir. And Danifu, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So, how this piece came about is that Akinsanya asked several of us to meet with him and discuss a very timely issue, which was so-called gang violence. So he asked a number of us to get a group of people together and begin a dialogue about this timely topic and talk about ideas, or come up with ideas that we could generate to come up with solutions to the issue, or ideas on how to address the issue. So the process that we used was to put out a notice to the community and say that we would like to have a dialogue with the community about the issue of gang violence, etc. So what came out of that was maybe 12 task force meetings and 4 general community meetings. And out of that, we generated a list of the problems as we saw them as community people. We generated a list of what we called outcomes, and then later we changed to harvest, because we thought that harvest would be a better term to use than outcome. This is what we want at the end of this process. We want to be able to have an institution. We want to run programs in our community with our children with a cultural base. So that's essentially how this whole thing developed. So I think with that...
Each panelist. My name is Tamisha Ross Cambone. I live in Long Beach, California. I have been working for the past 20 years with an organization called Pan-African Art Gallery and Studio. It's a nonprofit. We serve the community with youth programs, and our focus is using art to develop self-esteem, leadership skills, cultural awareness. A knowledge of history is put into that to increase academic skills. So a lot is put into it, but primarily we know that if we can get our young people to have a respect for themselves, through knowing who they are, they will respect others. And through knowing and respecting self and others, we can have a better society. So the gang problems, as you know, in Long Beach are terrible and have been for many years. And we actually came to Sacramento to put on a gang summit in 2005 because in the early 2000s, traveling to Sacramento and beginning to see the increase of violence among young people, we said, okay, we have the experience from Southern California to get ahead of this and to really do some things that can maybe get ahead of this moving train. Obviously, that has not happened. And in speaking to other people, they had a meeting on Wednesday, community forum that the city of Sacramento did, and we were able to attend that, speaking to some of the people there who've been involved for many years here in Sacramento with the problem. It seems that it's kind of a movement that has been in people's minds since the early 2000s and have wanted to do something about it and have made some efforts. Even the city of Sacramento, through programs, have made some efforts, but at a certain point it fell off, and it's almost like you have to have enough accidents at this intersection before we put up a traffic light, you know. So everybody knows that this is a problem, but until it gets to be so severe with enough fatalities, then we can do something. So now here we are at this place of trying to do something. And when you speak to young people, and for myself, listening to their hopelessness for the matter, they will really express they don't see that it's going to make any difference. They don't see that violence is ever going to end. So through our program in Long Beach, we've done a lot of work. We've done a lot of work with art in regard to the issue of violence. And we know from those experiences the difference that art can make and the difference that youth programs do make. So we continue. And there's one of our daughters who's now 34 came to me one day. She was in high school, and she and I was getting ready to go somewhere. So as I was in the mirror, in the bathroom, actually standing in the mirror and had my hands where I was washing my hands or something, but I remember her coming and feeling her head, just put her forehead between my shoulder blades. And I felt, I thought she was just coming in the bathroom to hang out with Mom while I'm getting ready to go somewhere. Girls do that, But then she didn't say anything, and I felt her head, and I thought, what's she doing? She didn't say anything. And I thought, well, this is an interesting, display of affection. What's going on here? And so I turned around and looked at her, and she just looked at me and walked away, and the bed was just 4 feet away. She turned around and she just laid prostrate out on the bed, and she just laid there. So I went to her, and I was consoling her. I'm like, what's going on? And she said, I've lost 3 friends in the last 2 weeks, and I just don't know what to do with that. And I was like, well, you know what? Let me hug you. It's okay to cry about this, because I know this is a deep loss. And she said, and I had heard about these kids all dying, but I didn't really think a lot of it because I didn't know that she knew them, And these were not related cases; these were all separate. But she knew all these different kids, and she was grieving, and she had no place to put the grief. And when I asked her about expressing it and try to encourage her to do that, she said, no, I can't do that. There's no point. I need to figure out another way to deal with this, because it's not going to stop. Now that was 1995. We're in 2011, and all it's done is get worse. That's it. So it's on us. We have to do something. I want to introduce, going down, Akinsanya Cambone, also known as Mark Timur, who is from Sacramento, born and raised here, who is the founder of Pan-African Art in Long Beach, who is professor, has worked at California State University, Long Beach for over 25 years, off and on, and has a very rich history here in the city of Sacramento. So a lot of people know him and the contribution that he's made, and continues to make, obviously, by coming here and galvanizing the energy of these men to stay home. And has a nonprofit, Always Knockin' Incorporated, which works with youth to give alternatives to gang violence. They teach life skills and have employment training. He has had this nonprofit for about a year now, so it is a new nonprofit and much needed. But he actually has about 22 years of street tenure, so he's very connected to what's happening on the streets. He considers himself an everyday street soldier. Next person is Musa Bey,
Yeah.
who works as with the organization with Danifu, who I'll introduce next, but he is his chief warrant officer. And then Danifu Kareem Bey, aka Raymond Cook, who is co-founder of the Crips and author of the Crips Constitution. I had an opportunity traveling here, and I met Danifu through my work with Akinsanya. So through the nonprofit, the question is the first question is, were you in gangs and how did you get involved? My second question is, what is the origination and the history of gangs? And that would be really individual to your area, because obviously now we have gangs all across the world. We have gangs globally. So just in your area where you have come up in your experience, the history of it there, the origination of the gangs in that area. And then the third question is, how have they evolved? Because gangs are different now than they were when they started. And then my next question is, what is most disturbing to you, the most disturbing aspect to you about what's going on today? So, as even the audience, you think about it, what really is disturbing to you? What pains you? What grieves your heart about this? What is your deepest concern? And then finally, the solutions that you see. So, this is February, so in February we think about the fact that we're black, and obviously this is not a gang. And how did you get involved?
Right there, he's the one that got me in the game. They got it right there.
I did. How you doing?
We had a gang called the Caretakers, right?
Caretakers in the Skulls.
Yeah, Caretakers in the Skulls. And we used to fight the Untouchables and the Undertakers and all them Del Paso Heights gangs.
Yeah.
And the police used to come and they'd sit around the corner and watch us fight till the fight was over. And then they'd come in after everybody was all beat up. But we was only fighting with chains and pipes and stuff like that. See, it's escalated. It's going to a higher level now. And the little gang stuff that we did, one of the reasons I moved to Long Beach.
How did you get involved?
Because he made me.
I wouldn't let him do any criminal stuff.
No, he wouldn't. He kept me out of doing criminal stuff. So instead, he did the criminal stuff and went to jail, and I didn't. He kept me out of the penitentiary.
Okay, so we'll go to the next person, who is Greg King.
All right.
Were you in gangs? And if so, how did you get involved?
I'm originally from Georgia, and growing up in Georgia. I myself, I'm originally from Georgia, and I grew up on a farm, doing everything on the farm. So, and I came to California in 1976, and when I came to California, I was big, buff, and everything, and my brothers that was here in California, they was already slinging and banging, and they said, man, we need you to knock some of these fools out. You know, and they didn't introduce me to the money value of the game first. They introduced me to the bodyguard aspect. You know what I'm saying? So per se, as far as being a gang, and I never knew that Oak Park was blood area. All I knew that in Georgia we was calling "What's Up Blood" like during the Curtis Mayfield days. It was "What's Up Cuz," "What's Up Blood." You know, during the music thing, it was the love thing, and before I knew it, you know, everybody was calling me "What's Up Blood." You know what I'm saying? As far as I'd never been jumped into a gang or anything, I was just around my brothers and stuff, and that's how they say I became affiliated with being a Oak Park blood. But I never was jumped in anything. All I knew was I was loving the money and I was loving the honey.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, I was involved with a gang called Eastside, 135th Street, Piru, you know what I'm saying, the west side of Compton, you know what I'm saying, in between Los Angeles and Compton and Gardena to another side. I basically came into the gang lifestyle just by association, and people were just people around the neighborhood. You know what I mean? How these people was killers later on, but these were just regular people, and it was the thing to do. I mean, that's basically all I can say.
Yeah, that's how you speak. I'm Johnny Fu. You got to work with me. I'm not really good at this, so the community gonna have to push me forward on this. I know the children like it, but I don't like all that. The way the media is doing it, it's not good to be taking credit for everything, even if you did have something to do with it. And I'm not the sole author of the Crip Constitution. I was told to do that. You understand me? I hear people say, that was solely Danifu. That wasn't solely Danifu. I didn't think people were intelligent enough to even comprehend it, because I was already a baby panther before Crips came. So I already knew that certain mentalities was in opposition to revolution, because we was running around trying to get them to get white people, and a whole lot of them wasn't trying to smack white people. So you know, a lot of little gangbangers didn't like Danifu back then, because I say get them white people first over there at that college over there, instead of beating up on them. They be like, man, you can't do that, you could. So anyway, just screwed it up. I gave the honor of being called Lil Bunchy. Probably because I was one of the little boys who happened to be around there at the time that he was alive, and we got a chance to go through the study groups and all that kind of stuff and do security when we wasn't supposed to. With Lil Bobby Hutton and all the comrades that was too young to officially be Black Panthers like Jonathan Jackson. That's my generation. You understand me? But a lot of people are always trying to pigeonhole me and say I'm a Crip. And that gives people images of me that ain't or isn't. So that kind of uncomfortable. You understand? Well, I could go into various details on how gangs evolve, whether they were Crips or Bloods if it comes from Los Angeles. But it's a lot of layers of it. There's a lot of different tales and a lot of different angles you can look at it. You know, there's positive angles, negative angles, scientific angles. So we can do this over and over. That ain't the point. Me being Lil Bunchy, that was an honor. I can't never live up to it because he died young, and that kind of easy. I've been trying to die young for the longest, and I'm kind of old, right? Still here. So I came from the original Crip thing. I didn't join. Most of my peers from junior high school became known as that. I'm not cutting my high school partners, junior high school peers away, the ones that came to back my play when I was a little weakling. I can't help it if we had an all-star team. Some of my other little homies did in junior high school. That we all really in LA came from a place called Mile Mile Land. Then when Mile Mile Land kind of spread out, my other little homies became the Bloods. They were still my homies. So I come from a unique generation of Crips that really we went out just before everybody started shooting. We were still a street fighting group. You know, we had more street fights than shootouts. However, I'm not trying to escape from anything. I just want you to get your perception straight, so when we move forward and trying to solve the problem, we clear. And so I can get this mic somewhere else, but I be feeling uncomfortable sometimes with how this comes, because my soul been way bigger than gangbanging. I always like violence and anarchy. I mean, hey, whatever response you're going to have in America as a young man or woman.
So the next question was the next question, and I think he answered that. And so I want Musa, Greg, and Akinsanya, if you would briefly say your experience with or your knowledge of how gangs have originated. And in particular, we're talking about Sacramento. That's why we're here, you know. So we really need to hear from Greg King about what's been happening here in Sacramento. So if you could each talk about what you know of the history of gangs. Let's start with Musa. And we'll work this way.
All right. That's about the history of gangs, right? Yeah, well, I'm not the historian. This is my esteemed colleague here. But like I said earlier, from a gang called Pyru, when you look at most documentaries, they give you a biased history, a West Side history, the origin of gangs. A lot of the origins of the gang started on what's known as the East Side of Los Angeles. Basically, the Pyrus started from some 2Gs, putting in town people whom he knew. It was named after a street called Pyru Street. Some people come with a whole lot of theories on what it means. One of the colleagues, Twilight Bay, says acronym for Powerful Intellectual Revolutionary United Soldiers. What was the rest of the question? So we're going to
just the history of it in your area.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, give me that.
This way.
I'm sorry about that, big boy.
No problem. As I was saying, coming from the South, my thing was I grew up with a lot of respect, to respect others and have others respect you. And as time continued to pass by, I started seeing stuff happening on the streets. At one time, like in the early 80s, I heard something as far as the Civilian Revolution Independent Party. And then as time continued to pass by, with the blood thing, they were saying Black Liberation or Organized Defense. And I'd always paid attention to what was happening with the Black Panthers. But what I noticed, it was like an infiltration thing. It was like, number one is we as black people, we don't have no planes, no trains, no boats to float all these guns and drugs in and out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, how do we continue to live the Willie Lynch level and the Jim Crow, the way black on black? It was the infiltration through the drugs that I was educated through it. The rock cocaine, when it was just a weed, there wasn't nobody killing nobody over weed. You know what I'm saying? Then the heroin addicts, you know what I'm saying, they was like doing their thing and enjoying the high. But when that rock cocaine hit the streets, that's when it seemed like to me when all the gangbanging really took ship and just sailed straight through the neighborhood and just everything just started changing. You know what I'm saying? And you will see the highest of people going down, smoking and stuff like that. Even myself, even my own experience as educated as I am, graduated from high school, been to the military, been to college. I myself, in 81 and 82, I was one of the biggest rockheads here in Sacramento. But having the education that I still have, it never went away. And I said, hey, this is not for me. But at the same time, I was seeing brothers and sisters fighting going on around me. But one thing I know for sure is what I saw was a lot of the older people here in Sacramento stopped educating the younger people. And it became a big gap between the education factor. It wasn't more so about the value of the dollar, but the value of the high. And as that continued, things started getting worse. And the question that I continue to ask you this very day here in 2011, I understand the fact that there's guns on the streets, but nobody's run out of ammunition. These assault rifles and everything, these customized guns, so it's a lot of stuff that's going on that we don't have control of. But the one thing that I know that we can gain back control of is we the people in the community has the power to come back together and do something about it, because the suppression is going to continue to be the suppression, but if we don't jump out on our own and continue to do something about it, it's not going to change.
Right.
My gang involvement started in Sacramento, and that was when I was a teenager. From there, I ended up in the Marine Corps. And in the Marine Corps, I learned things about weapons that I never would have learned had I not been in the military service. So once I was in the Marine Corps and I got out of the Marine Corps and came back from Vietnam, I was drafted into the Black Panther Party. In the Black Panther Party, I was able to take the knowledge that I had about weapons and weapon safety and marksmanship, all that stuff, I took it to the Black Panther Party. Once things escalated here in Sacramento, I was driven out of Sacramento and I ended up trying to find a place to light. And I tried to find a place where I could do some good. I found out that Long Beach had the highest homicide rate in the nation. per capita. So that's where I figured I would go do my work. So I settled in Long Beach, California. I started teaching at California State University, Long Beach. And that's when I ran into Danifu. And I hooked up with him and the crew. And I had skills that I could teach the crew. And they were respectful, so we rolled from there. And one of the things that we focused on was education. So almost everybody that was in the crew has gone to college, and some of them have degrees, okay? Starting out as gang members, but then with degrees. Because I know the solution is education. Okay.
So the next question, and I'm not sure, maybe we can tie these together, is how have gangs evolved? Which I think is an important thing to discuss just by itself, because how has it evolved and why has it evolved in this way? Because I know Danifu will talk about, and maybe Akansanya as well, the intent initially was taking care of the community. It wasn't what it has turned into, and it wasn't the place of a lack of knowledge like it is, because there was actually some geopolitical education going on, and now kids don't even know what that is. So if we could talk about, each of you could talk about how you see that gangs have evolved from where they were and the things that happened to get us to where it is right now, and where it is right now, how you see it right now.
The research that I did in Southern California, it was so segregated when they had different streets they couldn't cross back in the day. And that's when they started putting together these gangs. And these gangs were basically to defend the black community against the racists that were lynching brothers and sisters down there. That's how that started. And it just evolved from that point on to the point that it is now. And when it did start, it was basically set up to defend the community. It was brothers getting together to defend the community. And that's pretty much what gangs are. Gangs are young people getting together for protection, for defense. That's why we started ours here.
And as I said earlier, that's what, when I heard about the Civilian Revolution Independent Party and the Black Liberation Organized Defense, and as the rock cocaine epidemic flowed in, it seemed like all that started to change. And 10 years ago, I heard some young cats say, yeah man, my OG put me on, yeah my big brother put me on, but I talked to some youngsters just 2 weeks ago, and they told me, Brother King, it ain't no more OGs. OGs now just stand for an old guy. And what he was telling me was that the older brothers in the community, older brothers and older sisters in the community, stopped educating the younger brothers and sisters on the real education of life itself. You know what I'm saying? So they said, well, if they're not going to do for us, then I could do better on my own. So I could go get my own sack, and the girls would start saying, I could prostitute my own self. Why should I prostitute myself out and give him the money when he's not going to do nothing for me? So like brother said, the main thing that I see is the education factor and the value of the dollar. It doesn't stay in the black neighborhood no time at all. It only passes one hand and goes to the white neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Here on Stockton Boulevard, you get down to Florida and 65th Express all the way down to Fruit, which is called Little Saigon. Their money staying in their neighborhood, and it's our neighborhood, and it's not even matter to us. So education and the fact that so many resources here in the town. I just got the word just the other day, out of all the community centers here in Sacramento, that this coming summer there's only going to be 2 community centers open for the entire summer and 1 swimming pool. It seems like they're chopping off all the resources for the young people. So what these young people saying is, if I got to find my own way, uneducated, I'm going to get that sack and I'm going to pick up a gun. You know what I'm saying? When I was growing up in Georgia, I used to go hunt with my father and my grandfather and them with a gun for protection and to put food on the plate. But now it's putting meat in the slab, meat in the board. So the education factor is one of the greatest things that is declining in our community. And if we, the community, don't step up and do something about it, it's going to continue. You can't continue to sit back and complain about it if you're not going to get involved and do something about it.
Right. Well, I'm like the gangbang 80s. And as far as I can tell is, besides the fact that people went from street fights to killing you, I really don't look at gangbang as something that evolved. It looked like more as degraded. You know what I'm saying? It's something what I call Y2K gangbanging. You know what I'm saying? The rules is way different now than it was just 20 years ago. You know what I mean? They had things like, in my time they had a thing called like blood love. Bloods didn't fight each other. That was mainly a Crip thing. You know what I'm saying? Now bloods will kill each other as fast as they would kill a Crip or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I see before, in my days, I seen guys, they'll get pummeled for a little bit of red or a little bit of blue, but you'll see Crips wearing red flamed up today. You'll see Crips or Bloods wearing blue down. Gangbanging kind of depredated. It ain't the same thing. Only thing I see with gangbanging now is the media has a more of an influence on the gangbangers' thoughts, and most of these people are doing nothing but imitate what they see in their media, movies, and they rap. That's about it. Only thing that I can say that I observed that I feel uncomfortable over skinny jeans. That's about it. The people went from sagging to skinny jeans. That's Y2K bang. Back in my days, cats kept it G. You know what I'm saying? You get your sag on, at least your pants will fit. Now cats got Peter Pan pants and think that's cool. Biker jeans. Talking about that's gangster. That's not gangster. That's Y2K bang. Here you go, big bro.
Well, I can't add too much to that, but when you're dealing with youngsters, they're going to let you know what's going on. And when you want to help the people or the youngsters, you have to listen. They can actually teach us how to facilitate them for the future. But if we're not listening, we're missing. They telling us how to help instead of us telling us how we gonna help them. Let's listen. That's the first step in science. Observation. Then after we get the data, then maybe we can come up with a better solution. We have to be the same people of the 60s I see out there. Right now, we not dead. We probably not dead, this is my opinion, because we not finished yet. Problem not gonna get solved, because it started with our 60s generation. They won't blame it all on the so-called OGs. The problem started when everybody dismantled their posts in the 60s, out of whatever, real threat or just fear. But everybody was thrust into this situation. When we were involved in the 60s, we didn't just figure we had all the answers to the problem. We didn't even have answers to our own behavior. Most of us in the 60s were children. The oldest ones were in their 20s. So now we may have a better chance of solving the problem being seasoned and being 3 generations deep in the beyond Jim Crow. We should be able to solve this problem.
Exactly. Like that. Well, I can listen to you talk all that.
So I'm going to take the last two. I'm going to take the last two. I'm going to put them together, and all of the panelists take all the time you want to say whatever it is you want to say, and at the end of that, before we open it up to the audience for question and answer, I want to make sure that all the panelists have really said what's on your mind, on your heart. So my last 2 questions were, what do you see as the most disturbing aspects of what's happening with our youth today and the violence, and what is the solution? So if you could put that together and just speak on, because the most disturbing, I mean, you have to kind of think it's so.
Okay. First thing is one of the most successful programs we had in Southern California, in Los Angeles, Long Beach, all in that area, was our conflict resolution teams. This was one of the most successful things that we did to stop gang violence, and it worked. And I told a story about a situation that escalated where this one gang member's sister was pregnant, and he had told the other crew not to sell her no crack, and they did. So that started a fight. One of the brothers got shot. Things escalated. Then there was the other crew was getting ready to go and smoke the ones that shot their partner, and they got a bunch of firebombs, and they was going to go burn down this apartment complex with all these families living in it to get at the guy that shot the person. People called us, and we dispatched teams to both sides, conflict resolution teams. and the team that hit the place that had the gas bombs, they took all the gas bombs and put them in the car, and they were driving with the stuff to get rid of it. Police stopped them, smelled the gas in the car, and took everybody to jail. They took them to jail because they wouldn't talk. One of the things about the conflict resolution team, for you to keep credibility in the city, you can't relate to the police in no form or fashion. You can't talk to them. So these brothers went and did some time for nothing. We on the outside was trying to work with the police and get the police to let them out of jail. We was trying to explain to them what they did. Police wasn't hearing us. So that's one of the biggest things that hurts me more. I feel like we can organize from one end of the country to the other, these gang leaders, these shot callers, and we can organize these conflict resolution teams all across the country. And we can stop this before anybody gets killed. Because people are reluctant to call the police when somebody's doing something. If you know somebody's getting ready to kill somebody or something happens, you ain't calling the police, because the police going to take them to jail. But if you want to stop the problem, you got to call somebody. So if you can call somebody who you know ain't the police, that got credibility, that's going to come and disarm both sides, mediate both sides, and resolve the conflict, that's what has to happen. And we can do this. The reason we can do this is because we know the players. The city can't do it, the chief of police can't do it, the mayor can't do it, the governor can't do it, the president can't do it. But we can do it. And I know we can do it.
What do I need to say? I'll agree with him 200%.
The most disturbing aspect for you first, before the
Okay, the most disturbing aspect for me is I'm the founder of an organization called the Big Home Street Team, and we was doing exactly what the brother just got to doing. We go out to the streets to where the gangs hang out at, and the kids in the hot spots and stuff, and we was offering alternatives to hanging out on the streets, to youth and gang violence and whatever else there was. And sad to say, we lost our funding from that. But I always told the guys on my team, we can't rely on the funding from somebody else to do what we got to do. If you're about it, you'll do it from the heart. And so we don't have that funding anymore. I had 9 guys on my team, now I'm down to 1. And you're looking at him, I'm that one person. And I will continue to do what I do in the streets because it's come from the heart. That's one of the most disturbing aspects. And as I continue to ask people to continue the funding so that we can get out there and put brothers to work, I'll continue running to dead roads for them, but not for me. I will continue to do what I do. And one of the other things too is the conflict piece. I know that we can do it because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going all through Sacramento, getting groups of brothers and sisters, talking to them about the same message. Said, wouldn't it be nice if we get together with the folks in Oak Park, with the folks in Medical, and push the same message? Because I too believe in what the brother just got to say. It's going to take we, the people in the community, to police our own. Until we can get up and do our own thing. When you go to a meeting, just like the meeting at Oak Park the other night, they had their own agenda. Until we come together as one and set our own agenda, we'll never get a chance to stand up and speak and say what we need to do. We may get to talk about it on the sideline, but the sideline is no place. We got to be in the game, putting up the ball, making points, and we can do that. And I definitely believe in unity in the community among the people. My grandmother raised me in Georgia, and everywhere she would go, I remember some kids that I used to go to school with white kids, and she just say to the white kids that was my age, yes ma'am and no sir. You know what I'm saying? So I understand the civil rights movement. Just like the Martin Luther King March that we have right here in Sacramento, I participated in it for 17 years straight. I talked to the organizers about that. I said, look, check this out. Every year we've been singing the same old song, we shall overcome. I have a dream. Yes, we do, but when are we going to do something about to keep the dream alive? What have we added to what Dr. Martin Luther King did? Yes, I will honor him, but it's our time to step up to the plate to continue to fight Yeah, we're going to go through the struggle, but we're not fighting to keep the struggle alive. The struggle is still alive because that's what the people want us to do. We're going to always struggle. And my thing is, and what I want to continue to do, in fact, I have a 3-day event coming up called Silence to Violence. It's a 3-day event, June 3rd, 4th, and 5th here in Sacramento. We're going to have a peace and march rally from Oak Park. These are some of my solutions. We're going to bring the people together. At our expense, me and my committee, if it takes us to spend our own money to bring our people together to help come to the solution that we can be a part of it and bring the conflict resolution back, I agree with you 200%. That's what I'm trying to do right now. So thank you for having me here.
After tight jeans, the next aspect of the resolution would have to be this. From the Most High we come, and to the Most High we return. And basically growing up in Los Angeles, I'm kind of desensitized to people getting killed, because people get killed on a daily basis with me, as far as I can tell. In Los Angeles, where I come from, the gang paradigm is really much shift from Crip and Blood more so to so-called Latino gangs and or brown on black crime. I have to be real specific on that, because the media have you give you the impression that so-called black people going out and attacking innocent brown people. It's really brown on black crime. That's the real issue right now. It's, Crip Blood is kind of like 80s and obsolete right now. Right now it's about Mexican gang members like M.A., Serenos or whatever making orchestrated attacks on black. That's the most thing that disturbs me. After that, what I have to say will disturb me next is a bunch of outsiders coming into the community, a whole bunch of quote-unquote G's who are popping up out the woodwork and trying to expect the young people to follow them, and they've been gone for the longest. They've been gone for the longest. It is time for G's to determine their own destiny. It is time for G's to stop letting people come in and dictate gangster politics. Gangsters dictate their own politics. Gangsters, we need to redefine it. For instance, I used to think a G was a gangster. Hanging out with these two esteemed colleagues here, I found out a gangster is really a governor. A person that governs his realm and governs himself. Mastery of self. That is a true G. And among the things that I've come with, I tried to come with a treaty. I won't go too much into it here. But, for the longest, for about 5-6 years, I've been trying to come with a treaty to get the gangs, because I felt as though the gangs needed to officially federate. Come with a federation. But official on the line, I can go more into it. But that's don't big bro.
Man, you can go into the treaty.
All right, I'll go into the treaty.
Go into the treaty, man. Hold it up. Give us a few points in your treaty.
All right, well, it's like 51 articles of this.
Well, just explain how treaties relate to gangs, because people don't, do gangs deal in treaties?
Yeah, actually, gangs are supposed to deal in treaties. Treaty is just nothing but a simple agreement between two autonomous nations, parties, or tribes, or people who's self-determining. You know what I'm saying? You got commercial treaties, you have peace treaties, you have all of that. And like I said, this came about after the 92 rebellions, where the so-called gangs united, but all they did was just have a photo op and have picnics. They didn't have any type of plan to carry on from there. And as a result of that lack of that, the whole gang unity fell apart. So basically, I came with a treaty, treaty of the submitters. When we read some of this, or just go through the things?
Just get it off the top of your head, whatever you feel like, brother.
Oh, all right.
Come on with it.
All right. It comes, like I said, it's a 51-page article. It was a whole bunch of things. It's talking about how each camp. Well, you want me to read some of this? Sure. All right, I'll read it. All right, I'll read it. All right, I'll read this. I'll read the top of it. Because some of it comes out of scriptures, Exodus, Psalms, and like that. But I'll read this one. O ye people, verily we have created you of a male and female, and made you a nations and tribes, that ye may recognize each other. Verily the most honored of you with God is the one who guardeth himself the most against evil. Verily God is all-knowing, all-aware. That's from the Big Green Book. Right, so this is I'll read it. This agreement of God's prophets and the tribe of the Comforter shall apply to the people, Moroccan Moabites, that it has to be there because people have to have an identity, and the people of the liberated zone, who have accepted the religion of peace and the submission to God's will, and all such people who are in agreement with the above-mentioned bodies and side with them in war. Those who are a party to this agreement shall be treated as a body separate from all those who are not a party to this agreement. Right? Then it goes down further, it talks about the people are in themselves a party, and as in the past, shall be responsible for the payment of blood money on behalf of their criminals. That's an important point.
Why is that?
Because why that's an important point is because during my points trying to unite gangs, there were people brought up, how can we unite people, man? I had a whole bunch of homies get killed over this. I can't forgive that. You know what I'm saying? The big homie Spider-Lo got killed over that. It will never be cool. Ever. So I had to go and investigate what blood and money is. And we know what it is. It's basically just a street version of what you do. I'm going to get paid by Johnny Cochran or whatever. If somebody's killed an innocent from your region or whatever, you know, a lot of these hoods have a lot of gang, dope dealers with a lot of money. Just the blood money's put in there that, you know, if they accept the blood money, you got you paid, no more conflict from there. The whole thing, I really would, you know, I want some members. I left about 15 slots with ambassadors of these gangs to sign on behalf of their gangs. And then from there we come with treaty enforcers. It's a lot. You want me to read more than that? Yeah. So, yeah, there's a whole lot to go into this show.
Go ahead, focus on the camera, baby.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. So I've been coming with, you know, the treaty to unite the gangs, you know, been used before to unite a whole bunch of hostile tribes who are trying to take each other out. Here you go. That's all I can get. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Get a shot of this.
Go ahead.
Did you get it?
That is the edited version. That is the edited version. Oh, you want to flip through all the pages?
Okay.
First off, since we closing out, I have to say that I appreciate everybody for coming out. Because the people are the ones who make the movement and put into action, so it's not like no big eyes and little U's out here. We all together. We really just reflect you and you reflect us, and it's a blessing from God to see you even come out here in the rain. That give people hope to keep on moving, working, you understand, in hopes of a better future. Like the sister Tamasha was talking about, how we gonna go, you know, somewhere to the future and we don't know the past. We do need to change our perspective on our history in this country, but that'll take a long time. That's a whole nother hour. Most people are not really that deep into a commitment to revolution and spend the type of time it needs to send the information out there so we know what to do when we leave. But that's coming. So I'm going to switch fast forward, because if we deal with the past, it's like, it's going to take too long. You can do that research. You understand? You draw what I'm saying? Give me a nod if you see what I'm saying, because I'm not trying to hold you up, hijack your time. So we'll speed fast forward to the future, to the present. Everybody talking about how gangs evolve. Of course, everything evolves. Everything changes, especially the technology. But the problem seems to remain the same. That's because we're really not looking for the solution. Our people still have the same mentality they had during slavery. We still scared of the white man or the master. We've been taught not even to call him the white man no more. We've been actually taught not to even complain. So if we can't complain on what the problem is and who's perpetuating the problem, we damn sure can't solve the problem. We still scared. Most of us, you understand, been indoctrinated through Western culture. And so we're just much as part of the problem. We think like the white man do, eat like the white man, and then we looking for a problem from the situation caused by the actions of the white man. It's silly. We the ones discriminating against each other. That's how you can get something like Cripper blood. That's discriminating against your brother and your sister. You from the west side, you from the east side, you from the north side, you from the south side. That's discrimination. What are we, Democrats and Republicans, the red, the blue, with the white man in the middle to take you to jail? We can say all those things. It sounds good. Maybe this thing will sell good on a DVD. Then we can generate some money, right, for the programs that they're not going to give you to save your children. You almost have to rob banks to save your children in America. That's hard. That's why the struggle takes a while. Because don't nobody care about our children. They slave babies. We forgot. Oh, everybody's great-grandmama was free. Shit, everybody's great-grandmama in most cases was a cotton-picking slave. Why don't we just get real with it? We descendants of slaves. Don't nobody care about the descendants of slaves. Descendants of slaves don't even care about themselves. That's a little bit too deep when it comes to solving the self-hate problem of black-on-black crime and all that kind of mess. So let's move on. The OGs and the gangsters, not the OGs that they calling the old men, because in L.A., them old men are still running the gang world. In L.A., the OGs is still running the game. In L.A., the gang thing done amped up with the technology and the game and the economy and how that go. When Ronald Reagan came in with
Reaganomics?
Yeah, Reaganomics, that was, what would they call that? Rockonomics. They're the ones that adding up the game where you make more money and based on how many rocks you sell. People in the street are not dumb, they want to survive. So they adapt it. You understand me? So they start trying to make money the quick way as it can. Hey, this go all the way back to the talented Tiff back in 1930 in America, when some smart Negro said that Booker T. Washington intended to define man as how much money you can make. Man became the earner. These are new ideas that we think go all the way back to Columbus, but actually they're new ideas. So when man became defined as the money maker, you understand, you could be empty stimp long as your pocket was thick, you was a man. The man. Now, if that's the definition of a man, and you have young people trying to grow up in America, they'll do anything to get manhood status. Now, that's the other one, the yin and the yang. If you teach your daughters to don't be so materialistic, maybe you have less drive-bys. Because they gonna motivate a brother to put that cash in his pocket. And in America, America's not based on morality. Now, I'm not trying to give a lecture, but that may happen in the future. It's the so-called OGs. They doing it right now like everybody's saying. They just need support. Which means no more hate pills. Most of y'all as OGs probably in most cases just ain't saying, hey, you got support. Hook up with the brother. This how OGs is different from the civilian population. They know how to mob. They know how to go from one street to the other street to the other street until they got a crew. They know how to mobilize without squabbling. That they know basic fundamental power. You draw? That's why they have respect and fear. Where the other general population too busy trying to pay their bills and get the job, either last one hired, first one fired, it ain't no new thing, right? Where they keep rolling with the currency. Not saying, well, what we say? All right, we don't make the drugs, we don't make the bullets, we don't make the guns, but we in the game to survive, right? We're not trying to tell somebody to be penniless. What we're saying is we want to save those young brothers in junior high. Everybody else going to be taken care of. Before we become extinct, we're going to have to do what all people do to prevent ourselves from becoming extinct. And that's can take control, blah, blah, blah. We come up here to unite with him and some other people. We know this not going to go down without the OGs. In America, the gangsters make the world go round. I don't have to tell you, the CIA is really the mafia. The FBI was really the Bureau of Brothel Investigations Unit. These people always been out here. This had nothing to do with us. How they control their economy is how we fit into it. I'm not saying it's not our fault, but it's our fault if we don't give the brother OGs the support. Then basically they fighting a battle by themselves, and they're going to be hostile to the other peoples who are too scared to step up and take charge of the community. The police, the media, all that make older people hostile and hate and misunderstand what the younger people are doing. They use their votes to hire more police, more this, more that. Got to go to them meetings like they did the other day and let them know that that's not the way you feel or think. Most of the money that's going in to save the young people is going to pimps, poverty pimp programs that don't do a damn thing. Most of the people from the neighborhood don't get the money anyway. They go to people with education that don't even live in the neighborhood. They can justify why they're getting paid because they speak good King's English. This is the whole con game. That's why everybody's shocked when some new tribe bursts upon the scene and terrorizes everybody. They're always shocked. America's always shocked. Well, let's shock America. Change the literature, you change the people. We fucked up because we be letting our little girls read that Harry Potter shit. We be fucking up because we think the boys will be boys. You sit in the school and you don't even monitor your own damn children. That's where we be messing up at. I don't mean to be cursing, but I want to be real with this. These people sanction us, the Crip government, whatever you want to call it. They call themselves a nation now. They allow us to distribute literature amongst their group. We have a working relationship with all the Bloods. Black, Peace, Stone Nation, all of them. The reason the people don't know what's going on is because we don't want nobody snitching. That's why. The gangs are not on the same level they was on before. Whether you're Crip or Blood, there's a nation rising in America and they want education. They already got security. They got AK-47, all them weapons. They got bulletproof vests. Anybody can go up against the popos, it's going to be the gangs. Anybody can go against the Klan, it's going to be the gangs. And as long as they locking them up, you ain't going to have no backup. Those are your babies. These are the people you send to school and expecting to come back following your golden rule and they come back OG. Now they turn them into fags, really. Excuse me, you're not supposed to talk about being gay right in America. So you can see why gangsters don't get paid. Well, I tell you like Judge Joe Brown. We're into promoting manhood and protecting womanhood. That particular concept will not help us. If you want young men and women coming from your womb to man a nation of people to respect their forefathers, then gay ain't in the picture right damn now. Gay will not build us a nation. Gay will erode and eliminate us as a nation. Let's get that out the way. Don't be scared to talk about gays.
That's right.
Because your children is headed towards homo-G-ism. When they get out of jail, they don't know who to screw. They bringing diseases. And they ain't never intended on us being men in the first goddamn place. So we're in big trouble if we don't harness the movement of the ones they calling the OGs. They need technical help, technological help. They need economic advice. They need people to open the doors in them administrative buildings instead of closing them when they walk up there. Because they actually have a government and they are actually organized. That's why you can...
The comment is, I'm agreeing with Mr. Greg King. There's so many meetings that we go to and we don't set the agenda. We do not come to the table and set the agenda. We come, we listen to what other people have to tell us, we run around, we start doing work that they want us to do. And again, I agree with Mr. King. We need to set the agenda and have folks come out and follow what we want to go, or what we want them to go and do. The next one, someone made a comment up there and it sparked a thought in my head. As you gentlemen are making comments here, and particularly this gentleman here, every year we have a Martin Luther King march here, and I don't know if people in the audience will agree with me, but there's a part, for lack of better words, it's just weak. There's no strong message that comes out of it, and I've been going for years. And I get to the end of it, and I'm waiting for this strong, inspirational message, and it's absent. And I think it's just the commercialization of that holiday. I think by the nodding of people's head, you know where I'm coming from. We need to have a message like this coming out of there, and several messages from different people. And the last thing, sir, and I cannot recall your name. I came at I came at the end, but you mentioned something about conflict resolution teams, and can you explain a little more about that? Because I work in law enforcement, and I'm wondering how that worked for you. Did those people get paid at all?
No.
And can you see a model today where you can, and you mentioned something about having credibility, so I'm wondering if you can see a model today where you can have something between the community and law enforcement so that some money can come there, but you can maintain that credibility. And if you can't see it now,
I can see it. I can see it. I don't see there's any way you're going to work with law enforcement to solve this problem. Number one, law enforcement, the police, they make money by there being bad guys. They make money by locking kids up. Okay? So it's not in their interest to resolve the gang problem. Okay? It's real simple. These are our kids. It's in our interest to solve the problem. We'll do it if don't nobody pay us, because we love our kids. It's our kids that are dying. It ain't their kids. Their kids are living, but it's going to touch their kids pretty soon. Okay? It's going to touch everybody's kids. But we love our children, so we do this out of love for our children. Ain't nobody got to pay me to do it. I ain't never got paid for nothing, and ain't none of these cats ever got paid for nothing.